Welcome back, everyone. Am I audible properly? Those who are joining online, so from today onwards, we are going to discuss about microservices, and we will even build an application using microservices. So let's first understand the need of microservices. Like, what is the need of that? So if you are interested in cricket, so you might know a little bit about Indian cricket team. So we won a World Cup in 83, right? How we won World Cup at that time? Because before 83, there were two World Cups, 75, 79. West Indies and again West Indies. How? How India managed to win? Last two World Cups were won by West Indies. It was not a magic, by the way, that something magic got happen. There was a particular mistake in the setup of West Indies team. I forgot the captain's name, who was the captain of West Indies at that time, but he was having a clear policy. 11 players are required in a team to play. He was very clear. 5 batsmen, 5 bowlers, and 1 wicket keeper. No all rounder. Clear policy. 5 batsmen, 5 bowlers, 1 wicket keeper. That's it. No all rounder. And that became the problem in the setup of West Indies at that time. And because of that problem, we got a solution because we were having some of the all rounders at that time. Our captain was an all rounder only, and one, two more player were there. So he was having a cut policy that 5 don't know how to bowl, 5 don't know how to bat. So there was no emergency backup. There was no emergency backup with West Indies. They don't have any backup and they collapsed. We won. What we learned from this situation, that over dependency kills. डाला चेक करे ठीक है. So we learned that over dependency can kill sometimes. Same thing happened to our world of software development. Now let's say I'll talk about Amazon. So in the early 1990s, this was the time when internet, computers, softwares they were coming properly, like most of the website after HTML we got. So you can say this was the period 1990 to 2000, in which multiple software were built, like lot of things were done in this particular time tenure of 10 to 11 years. And all of these applications, because whenever you are building one application, as I am building from last many years, so I can tell that development of any application depends on multiple factor. So according to you, what is the first factor of developing any application? According to you, what? User experience. Okay. First thing that you will consider while developing any app: design and practical answer. These are like theoretical answers. I want practical answers here. Sorry? Module, modulation. Okay. And first thing, budget. And why budget? Because let's say you want to develop WhatsApp in a budget of this. Not at all possible. Because I have a lot of friends, my school friend, like they will call me that, are you free? We want to develop a website. I said, okay. And I will ask them, what is your requirement? They said, no, no, it's just very simple website. Then I said, okay, what is your budget? Because of course, at last, business is business, no friendship. So they'll say, like, I'll go with like 10, 15,000. I said, okay. Then I'll say, means you want a home page, a simple landing page. No, no, I want to start a e-commerce like Amazon. So that is not possible in 15,000 then. So the first thing is budget. And now how a project is depend on budget. I'll tell you. How many of you know ChatGPT? Like what a question. Everybody knows. How many of you know this? No one. I'm telling you. The difference between these two is the budget only. Just budget. It is having a $1 billion budget to spend in 1 year. Means they can spend around 8 to 10,000 crore in 1 year. By the way, this is Indian AI, Krutrim, by Ola. We don't even know about it. And the main problem is budget here. Because of their budget, they are just compacting their service. Because of their budget, they are compacting their service. So how budget is affecting the development? This is the example. If you have a bigger budget to spend, you can. If you have a less budget, of course you will be finding alternatives. What alternative? Instead of AWS, we will deploy on railway. That is one restriction. We will deploy on Azure. That is one thing. We will use Google Cloud to deploy. These things will happen, right? When budget is less. So in early 1990s, there was not too much user of internet, not too much user of softwares. Very less users were there. So at that time, how applications were built, let's take the case of Amazon. So just consider how many things we will have in Amazon. In an Amazon, we have user registration, right? As a user, I can register myself. In Amazon, we have seller registration. One is payment gateway, payment gateway. One is, you can say, product listing. One is add to cart. One is adding address. So as a single app, Amazon is doing multiple tasks. But at last, this is one complete app. This is one complete app. One complete. Now, after a time, what we noticed that Amazon is using PHP. Initially, everyone was using PHP only. But what we noticed is that working on payment gateway using PHP is taking a little bit time because that is hard and fast rule. Each programming language is not comfortable everywhere. There are some limitations. So payment gateway using PHP are not good. Now Amazon want to use Java for payment gateway because it's so fast. But how? Not at all possible, right? It's not possible. So that was a problem that we were not able to use different technology if we are getting some profit out of it. Our profit was payments can be made quickly, but we can't do that as it is one complete app. What is this? One complete app. So this was a problem at that time, that if your application is using PHP, everything will use PHP only. You can't change the payment gateway to Java or like other language, right? You can't do that. Second is during the annual sale that are generally coming on festival time. Let's say Dasera sale, Diwali sale, Christmas sale, New Year sale, like that. So definitely whenever a sale is going on, users will increase. Means the activity on the app will increase whenever sale is going on because you are getting products on discount. So like that. Even we do have a habit of purchasing the things on festivals. Now what I want that I have deployed one application on railway. How much credit is giving us? $5. And guys, please stop using my website multiple time because I am getting mail from railway that you are using 50%, 60%, 70%. I am not even using it after the day I have deployed. Now, what do you think when Amazon is giving one sale, let's say Diwali sale, new users will do registration? No, hardly possible. New seller will do the registration? No. So, what activity actually increase? Payment gateway, multi and one more service, buying products. So in a complete app, everything is not increasing during sale. New users will not come, new sellers will not come, people will buy more product, already existing user, and payment will be more if people are purchasing more product. Now what we need to scale here, scale means we need to give more space, more memory to it. Let's say if we are saying that railway, the cloud where we have deployed our Spring Boot app, or if you have deployed on AWS, Azure, Heroku, or anywhere, doesn't matter. They will give you one computer, online computer, one CPU, one RAM, one ROM, like that. So when a sale is going on, how will you handle that data? So you actually need to give more space to these two services, buying product and payment gateway. Scaling is of two type, by the way. First is called horizontal scaling. horizontal scaling. And second is called vertical scaling. Now, don't ask which one is good, which one is bad. It depends on the situation. In horizontal scaling means, let's say initially you were having one online computer. Online computer means you don't have to run Spring on your local host. It is running over internet. That is also a physical computer which is not visible to you. Now it is having 8 GB of RAM, 8 GB of RAM, and around 256 GB of ROM. So something like that you are having. So this is your one computer. Now you are thinking that my one computer will not be able to handle the load during sale time. So what you will do, you will add 2 3 more computers like this. So this is called horizontal scaling. You are adding more computers. In vertical scaling, what you will do? So there will be one computer from starting in cloud, you can say, which will be having the same size, that it will have 8 GB of RAM and 256 GB of ROM. Now in vertical scaling, you will not add more computer. What you will add is memory and resources inside the same computer, because that is also the solution, right? That is also the solution. That now in your computer you have add 888, you are increasing the RAM. Even that is the best thing. Don't purchase a laptop with high configuration. Purchase a laptop with a small configuration, then later upgrade it. Best way. Now this is called vertical scaling. Now simple question, which one is cost effective in both of them? Which one will take less money? Srikar will answer. Srikar, which one will take less money? Horizontal, sir. Why, sir? Why? Hmm. More configuration. How much more? Hmm. But that was not my question, right? That how many horizontal system are equal to one vertical system? My question was which one is cost effective? Means which one will use less money? Why? If you are answering something to me, just be sure that my why, how, these are coming. These are two hidden questions. When I'm asking first question, second is going to be why, how. So why? Why horizontal scaling will take less money? Answer it according to you. It has less configuration. Okay. What is the general price of one laptop? General 30,000. Let's take it 30,000 only. Okay. So you were having one laptop of 30,000, right? Means this is what you are investing on your server. Just take an example, 30K. How many more laptop you have purchased? Three. Total cost 33 ja 62 or 72, 90, 92, 90. 90. Got it. So total cost will become this one, 1.2 lakh, right? Got it? Now come to vertical scaling. 8 GB RAM and 256 GB you are already having. How much RAM you are adding? 24 GB of RAM you are adding. What is the general price? Hmm? 500 minimum. Sir, where it is getting done, tell me also. In 500? हाँ, अरे वाह, पक्का. These all are DDR3. Because like old one. Now DDR4 and NV4 are going on. So just take, let's say 500 only. Means 8 GB RAM for 500. 24 GB means 1500. And if you are getting 256 GB of ROM, around 3000 means 9000. So how much you spent this time? 10,500. How much you spend? 10,500. Now, which one is cost effective? Yes, which one is cost effective, Srikar? Vertical. How much? Too much. So on and all around 1,10,000 difference, right? But there is a problem in vertical. It is not like if this is cheaper, everyone will do this, right? If this is cheaper, everyone will do this. No. The problem in vertical is if this system is failing, your entire application failed. But inside this, if this application is failing, other three are running to take the user's response and all. Load will be balanced. Even if your two systems are failing, worst case, then also your two systems are running. It will work slow, but it will work. Even you are having very bad day, third also failed, but still you have running service. You are not offline. But in vertical, one failed, everything failed. And system failure is a common issue. It's a very common issue. It can be failed by any of the reason. So neither horizontal is good, neither vertical is good. Both are having their pros, both are having their cons. No one is too good, no one is too bad. It is just how you are using them. So that was also a problem that I want to increase the server for buying the product service and payment gateway, but I can't do it because each and every application is one unit. The solution of this came as microservices. The solution of this came as microservices. Microservices are the architecture, by the way. Now, what will be there? There will be different cloud. First of all, there will be different clouds, not one cloud, different. And each cloud will be hosting one different service. Our application is built in such a way that the first cloud is only taking care of user registration. Only if a new user is coming, it will take care of it. Second is only taking care of seller registration. If a new seller is coming, third is only taking care of payment gateway. Fourth is only taking care of buying the products. Now, first thing, if I want to increase the capacity of these two things, I can increase now or not? Of course, Two different clouds are there, you can increase. But if your application is built as a whole, one application, you can't do this, right? Let's say, how can I say this? Let's say whenever we are moving, we have to go with our complete body. It is not like that some part will keep somewhere else, then we are moving without that particular part. Not practically possible. So here we can do this by developing the project into multiple modules, multiple units, and microservices are very costly. Very costly. Amazon was a monolithic application in starting, and I forgot the year they shifted to microservices. It was costing them too much that again they went to monolithic. Amazon, right? So it is very expensive actually. That is your microservices. Now, here arises a question. Are we going to create different Spring Boot application? Spring Boot app 1, then after Spring Boot app 2? So the answer is yes. As much as service you want, create that much application. Now, what is the benefit? Benefit is one team does not depend on another team. How? I'll tell you. Let's say we are working on this particular monolithic architecture. What is this called? Monolithic means single application. Now this user registration team, because there are hundreds of team inside a organization, 100. Don't think that there will be one front end team, one back end team, one database team. No, in front end also there will be hundreds of team, because someone is good in handling user response, someone is good in showing the response to user. So this user registration team has added the feature of, in the user registration, at that time only they are taking the user's address also. Earlier they were not taking, but now they will take user address also. And they want to deploy the application to the cloud, but they can't deploy it. The reason? Because this adding address team is working on some feature. They have to wait for them, that once you are completed, then we will compile the project, we will create a var file of it. So whatever you are doing on GitHub and then it is going to Railway, it is actually a var file, web archive file, that is running on, I'll tell you this in Docker. So one var file will be created and it will go to cloud. It means that this user registration team has to wait until this is doing the work, right? That's it. That was the problem. So multiple problem came in monolithic architecture. That is why we have got something as microservices. So let's understand what is microservices. We will develop one small project also, very small, because already we have built full stack projects. Microservices. Microservice is an architectural style. It's not a framework that we have to study. No, it's an architectural style, right? It is an architectural style where one application is built. It should be built as a collection of different multiple loosely coupled means they can work without each other, they don't need the support of each other. Independent module, they do not depend on other modules, they can work directly without depending on each other. So that is called micro services. Each module in a microservices application is deployable on cloud, means you can deploy separate services as well, right? Two Spring Boot application are there, they are talking with each other by some link or something like that, and they are just deploying on cloud. That's it. So that is called your microservices, where each module will be loosely coupled and independent. They will be loosely coupled and independent. They will not depend on each other. So that is what we are saying in microservices. Why do we need microservices? So there are some of the, you can say, components, and why do we need microservices architecture? It's not a framework or protocol, simply it's an architecture. So the question arises, why do we need microservices? So we'll write it in pointers. The first pointer, if the application is built as a single unit, then teams will wait for other team to complete their feature so that they can deploy the project. That is the first problem. Second problem is, in case of scaling the project, if it is following the monolithic architecture, we have to scale the entire project, which will cost much more. So that are the two common point. One more point is there. If we are using monolithic architecture, then we can only use one tech stack. Only one. If you want Java, work on Java. If you want Python, work on Python. If you want PHP, work on PHP. If you want JavaScript, work on then JavaScript. But here, not only two different Spring Boot. One can be Spring Boot application, one can be Django application, one can be Node application, one can be .NET application, and four different are talking with each other. Because it depends whose service is fast where, right? Let's say you want to write generative AI. That will be faster in Python because of its libraries, generative AI. So if your application is having something related to generation of data, use Python there. But if your application is monolithic, then you can only use one tech stack. Why? Because The application is built as a single unit. So this is the problem in microservices architecture. Three problems. Remember, sorry, monolithic architecture. These are the three problems. If you are getting a question that why do we prefer microservices over monolithic, these 3 points should be your answer. That first is, if we are building application as a single unit, one team has to wait for other. So sure, you can't deploy without the second team. Second is, if we want to scale the project, if we want to scale the payment service, we have to scale the complete application, which will cost too much. When I was in Z, it costed to handle the IPL data, it costed in crores, right? Because I have done scaling twice. One time when I was in Z for IPL, and one time when we were in Flipkart during, I think, New Year sale or like that. And both the time it was costing too much. That too on microservices, not on monolithic. And third is, in monolithic architecture, we can only use one tech stack. Java means Java. If you are using Python, all will use Python. That is not good. Yesterday, we checked the tech stack of Netflix. And there we saw that Netflix is using Java, Python. I will just open it. So here it is using Python, Node, React, Java. Like it is using all the top three programming languages. Why? Microservices. Check the tech stack of Amazon. So we'll just go and check tech stack of Amazon. React, Java, MySQL, Angular. Now Angular and React are the two different thing of JavaScript doing the same thing. React is a library and Angular is a framework, but they are using both. And for database, they are using MySQL, of course, and Amazon DB, that is DynamoDB for them. And Redux they are using for state management in React, and that's it. Here they are not using Python, but yes, they are using React and Angular both, which are two completely different. They don't have anything in common. React means React means in React we write HTML inside JavaScript. In Angular we write JavaScript in HTML. That is a difference, big difference. Nothing is common in them. This is the tech stack of Amazon. And let's check tech stack of Flipkart. Indian company, we will check. So for mobile app, they are using React Native, Proteus, and React Router. What they are telling. In backend language, where it is, this is not a good website. For front end, they are using React.js. They are using microservice architecture. For backend, they are using Java and Spring Boot. For data management, they are using Kafka and Hadoop Spark. For cloud, they are using AWS and Docker Kubernetes. And here, for the machine learning of Flipkart, they are using TensorFlow and PyTorch, Python. TensorFlow and PyTorch are both of Python. Little bit Python they are using, very little. The ratio in Flipkart is 1 to 7 between Java and Python. Means if there are 7 team of Java, there will be only one team of Python. Let's check the tech stack of Hotstar. And you can check of any of the company. Mostly it will be available online. React, AWS for application, they are not making it public. So they are using React and AWS. If they are using AWS means their backend is in Java only. I have worked and I have checked the code base of Hotstar. So you will always find that we are running between multiple technologies because payment of Java is faster, generative AI of Python is faster, machine learning of Python is faster. Now you can't stick to Java that no, I love Java only. I will write machine learning in Java. Of course you can write, but you should not go in your emotion while developing something. Use your brain. Emotions are not good during development, right? So understood why do we need microservice architecture? These are the three common points. Now, whenever you are working in organization and if you find any other point you can include, but as of me, these are the three point that why do we need microservices? Now, when microservices are coming, what they will give us? So you can say characteristics, characteristic of microservices architecture. What is the or what are the characteristics of a microservice architecture? Here we have componentization. The first you can say we have componentization. It means that in a microservice architecture, each service will be a different and independent component. Componentization. Second, it will give you independent scaling. Means it will solve the problem of monolithic. We can scale one particular module without scaling the entire application. Next is technology diversity. Technology diversity. For building, for building one single application, we can make use of different technology, or you can say different tech stack. For building a single application, you can use a different tech stack. As of now, your tech stack, you know what is your tech stack? What is your tech stack? If someone is asking you in interview, what is your tech stack? What is your answer for it? Java. And so if the company is hiring a backend developer, then you first tell your backend tech stack that Java, Hibernate, Spring, Spring Boot, microservices. This is your tech stack for backend. MySQL. If you don't know MySQL also, then say MySQL in interview. Don't say only Oracle. It is like, no, I don't want to say that. So this is your tech stack for backend. This is for database. In front end, it is HTML, CSS, JS, and React or Angular. Depend upon you. But here, if you are a complete full stack student of Naresh IT, then this is your tech stack. In that, you can add Bootstrap and Tailwind also. This one. So this is your tech stack, right? This one, complete. Now, if company is hiring a front-end engineer, you start with this, then this, then this. If they are hiring backend, then you start with Java, Hibernate. Some companies will say J2EE also. This one. In job posting, they will mention it. J2EE. Yes, you need to say separate. Hibernate is completely different to RM framework. Spring is different. Spring Boot is different, right? You have to say separate. So that is your tech stack. So whenever you are speaking, add J2EE. It doesn't mean any other language or framework. It means that you are capable of building enterprise application. You are capable of developing enterprise application. How many enterprise application we have built here? LockTalk is an enterprise application. Result app, the clone of CBSC, that is enterprise application. And library management, half project is there, but you can say. So these two projects, obviously you can add as enterprise application because this is not a programming language or like that. Java to enterprise edition means you can develop business apps. That's it. So this is your tech stack. So by using microservices, we can have a technology diversity. The next thing that we can have is fault tolerance because each and every unit is different. They don't depend on each other. Failure of one single module will not impact other particular modules. They will run without any problem. But there is a condition until and unless they are talking with, they are making a communication with faulty service. Let's say you are taking an API data from a service which is not running. So you will also run into error because your data depends on them. So these are the characteristics of microservices. Now, someone can ask you actually, and what kind of architecture, what kind of architecture was followed before microservices? The answer is pretty simple here. Monolithic architecture. And what is monolithic architecture? It is an architectural style where one application is built as a single module with a single tech stack and deployed on a single cloud. By the way, now also monolithic is used because whenever you are going to an organization, they will not be having much budget for it, right? So this is called the architecture, which was now also it is followed. Don't think that now no one is following the monolithic. Lot of companies are following now also. So let's understand the difference between microservice and monolithic. Here we will type the feature, you can say, or aspect, that on what aspect we are talking on. Your DevSecOps class are going on or completed? Not started? Because most of the tool I only taught you here, Git and Docker. Docker I'll teach. Postman, Swagger, because now no one is left. All are done only. Aspect, and here we'll talk about monolithic. Monolithic, and here we will talk about microservices. Now you will only answer me. Code base. First is code base. What kind of code base? How many different type of code will be there in monolithic? Single or multiple? Single code base. In case of microservices, multiple code base. Second is deployment. In microservices, deployed as single unit. In microservices, deployed as different independent units. Independent units. Next aspect is scaling. Will it take less money in monolithic or more money? In monolithic architecture, if you want to scale, will it be expensive or affordable? Affordable. Shankar said affordable. Why, Shankar? Why it is affordable? Affordable means it will come in the budget. Monolithic scaling is never in budget. Never. And microservice deployment is never in budget. Right? I am running multiple application and most of them are on monolithic architecture. I hate Python. Personal grudge. Scaling means, oh, no grudge with Python. Just joking. Expensive scaling, as we have to scale the entire application. Affordable. Affordable, as we can scale particular unit like this. Tech stack. Single or multiple? Single tech stack. Here multiple tech stack can be used. So like one day I was having a meeting with my one of the client, and he asked me that, do you develop the application by using two different tech stack? I said, yes, we develop. He got happy. Okay. Because I'll tell you the standard market rate. This is just for your information purpose. Please don't go into assumption. Same application if you are building using Java and Python. Same application, same functionality, same everything. If Java application is taking 100 rupees to be built, it will be done around 60 to 75 around, right? And the client asked me that, are you doing development in both tech stack? Yeah, I said, yes, of course we are doing. He got happy. And okay, means second range he was thinking. Then he asked me, what are you two tech stack? I said React plus Spring. Second is React plus Spring Boot. So simple. He was thinking Python actually. So no, we have two tech stack, either React plus Spring or React plus Spring Boot. This is the actual market cost, by the way. This is the difference because Python development can be done fast because of smaller syntax, library support. Now the question arises, if Python is affordable, can be done quickly, why someone will invest in Java? The same difference which is between a Audi and a Alto, an Audi and a Nano, same difference. Security, or else you can say speed, cost maintenance also. So I never prefer building Python application, and hardly I have taken only 2 3 projects because I have to maintain a separate team and give them extra salary because unnecessarily. So no, I don't take any Python project until and unless it is completely a front end project. Angular we can deal at up to some extent, and that too I have to write the complete code for it. React means we have many peoples, but for Angular no one is there. I used to write the code. Now here you can develop a application in 60 rupees. But after that, what will happen is if your application is built using Java, when the first maintenance is coming, here charge will be around 10 rupees. Only 10% of the cost, scaling and all. Here it will be around 30 rupees because native support is there. If you want to add something inside this, 2 rupees, around 12 rupees. Now calculate the cost. In long run, Java will be beautiful, very beautiful. Yes. So, like that. No hate to Python, by the way, right? I have worked a lot on Python also. Lot. But personally, this is what I feel. And this is like our standard cost that we are doing. Let's come down to here. So, tech stack. Second is maintenance, or let's say fast shipping features. Shipping features. Now, if you have added one feature, which one will be giving fast? In monolithic, it will be slower. In microservices, it will be faster. The reason? Deployment, right? Differently deployed. I'll ask you a question here now. Team size. Whose team size will be large? Monolithic or microservice? Think accordingly and answer this question. Whose team size will be more? Online peoples, you have to answer this question. Whose team size will be more, monolithic or microservice? Microservices. How? Write the reason also why microservice will have a larger code base. Sorry, a larger team with respect to monolithic. Shrikar, what is the answer according to you? And remember, my how and why are secretly attached here. Monolithic. Reason? Okay. I'll ask you a simple question. Very simple. Let's say you have to eat 10 pizza. Means 10 pizza are there on the table. Now, if you don't eat, also think that you have to eat 10 pizza. So, according to you, how many human beings are required to eat 10 pizza? Just a random five. Means one person will eat two pizza. So, we are just taking whatever Srikar is saying. For eating 10 pizza, we require how many people, Srikar? Five peoples. Okay. We require five people to eat 10 pizza. And there is no problem also. Now this case will be changed. I will say, let's say I was ordering 10 pizza for my company. Now we need five people to finish them off. Now I am saying that I will order five pizza in two different day. Five pizza in two different day. Now how many person I require? Your math is not mathing here. For 10 pizza, you require five people. For five pizza, also you require five people. Three people or 2.5 people. Exact answer is 2.5. So let's take it a random case that now we need only three peoples. What did you understood from here? The answer is monolithic will have a larger team because there everything comes as a single unit. Now code base is very big. Billions of line, millions of line of code. And of course, you need a big team to handle that. And this is like personal experience, I'm telling you. I have shown you one of my school project, right? Where the school management system is there. I'll tell you the number of exact employees that are working on that. In front end, only one person is working. Only one. In back end, two are working. Database, one is working. Four employees are three, four like that. Ratio changes. That is using microservices, by the way, because there we have PHP and Java. Little bit PHP, more PHP, little bit Java. And if I am making that completely Java, I need at least 10 employee for the same project. 10. This is the reason actually. This one. That if you are ordering 10 pizza in a single day, you need five people to finish them. However, only one or two will finish them. But just take a humanly case. But what I am doing five pizza for next 2 days. Now we need only two to three people. Today they will eat. Tomorrow they will eat. Right? That is it. So simple. So which team will have, and it this definition can change also, right? This definition can change also. So here depends on project. What is your projects? But in most cases, monolithic will have a large team because the code base will be so big as it is a single unit. Here, less, or you can say smaller team can handle the project as units will be smaller than in case of monolithic. Got it? But depends on project. What is the tech stack of your project? Multiple factors are there. I'm not saying that only one factor is working here. Right? Got it? Got it? Any doubt till now in microservices? Loudly. Yes, only one. One technology doesn't mean that front end also you are writing in Java. No, not like that. If backend programming is Java, then Java you will use. Python, JavaScript, C Sharp, not allowed. For front end, if you're using React, you will only use React. You can't use Angular, Next.js, Vue, like that. Not supported. Got the microservices? Yes, those who are joining online. Or is there any sense of doubt here? This yes sir is for what? Clear or like you have doubt? Okay. Now, when we are working on microservices, then we have to learn some of the components. So you can say working key components of microservices, because now project will be available at different clouds. How the different cloud will talk to each other. So if two things, two technology, two programming language wants to talk with each other, how they talk? Array, answer this question. API. Last week only I think we did. Short term memory loss. So here the first thing is API gateway. What is the first thing? API gateway. In microservice architecture, we will have endpoints for all the client. Client means different Spring Boot application. Second is called service registry. Second is called service registry and discovery. Now let's understand what is this service registry and discovery. So we will build one application, Spring Boot application, where we will be, let's say, we are going to build Spring Boot app. And in this Spring Boot app, we will use microservice architecture. So what we will do, we will develop it in two component. Means we will divide our app into two parts. Component 1 and component 2, like this. And these two will be developed on two different clouds. That is also possible that if there are two application, they will be deployed on two different clouds. This one is deployed on this cloud, this one is deployed on this cloud. How they will talk with each other? Because communication is required. Application is only one. So here you can say that we will have one particular central server. So communication will go in this direction. First this, second this. Then cloud will talk to this server. This server will send a request to the app. So here each Spring Boot will be, each and every Spring Boot app will be registered as a service on the central cloud. Tomorrow I will show you the code of this. So each and every Spring Boot app will be registered as a service, independent service. So that at first this is getting registered here, and second one is finding this, means it is trying to discover it. So while working on microservices, you should also understand the service registry and the service discovery. But what if we have to write a cut definition for it? Each Spring Boot, each Spring Boot component means app only, will be registered as a service, and other component will discover them to make API calls. To make API calls. That is called service registry and discovery. Third is you can say load balancer. Third is you can say load balancer. Third is load balancer. What does it mean? The incoming load to the central server will be divided into multiple smaller servers. That is how you handle the streaming data, and like that you do. You can have different database also. What you can do, you can have different database also. So that is about your microservices. Now, in this complete architecture of microservices and all whatever we discussed here, I discussed one thing that was central server where all the service will be registered. What is that central server? What is that central server? Yes, what is that central server? Nothing, just a cloud. Who is that cloud? Where we can register our service and we can also discover them. That is called Netflix. Netflix Eureka server. What does it call? Netflix Eureka server. So we'll go to our browser and we'll check it. Netflix Eureka server. So you will see that our Spring only giving documentation about it. That is Spring Cloud Netflix. So we will just read the overview. Spring Cloud Netflix provide Netflix OSS integration for Spring Boot app through auto configuration and binding to the Spring environment and other Spring programming model idioms. With a few simple annotation, you can quickly enable and configure the common pattern inside your application and build large distributed system with battle tested Netflix component. What is this? So there are only two features. Spring Cloud Netflix feature. Eureka instance can be registered. Service registry. Second is service discovery. So which cloud we will use for microservices? Netflix Eureka server. How to add? This is the starter. Spring Cloud starter Netflix Eureka client. And to the main application, wherever you are having at the rate of Spring Boot application, you have to write enable Eureka server. It is not provided here. Okay. To run your own server using this dependency, you have to type at the rate of enable Eureka server. But before that, we should understand the complete details about Eureka server, like what is this, why we use Eureka server and all. So at first, what is a Netflix Eureka server? So here, Netflix Eureka server can be defined as a cloud server. What it is? It is a cloud server based on REST services. Means if your application want to communicate with each other, then your application is a good to go choice. REST services. If your application is making the REST services and you are using microservice where your application is built in three component, so they should talk to a central server. So this Eureka server will be the central server. So now working of Eureka server. Working of Eureka server. So already service registry. The first part of Eureka is service registry. Now what is service registry? Eureka acts as a directory or cloud where services will register themselves more often a microservice. So there will be one microservice or a simple Spring Boot app. Think like this. So each and every Spring Boot app will register themselves and they will discover other apps or other components also. So at first you can register yourself and you can get to discover others also. Second thing that it will do is service discovery. Service discovery. A component means microservice or a simple Spring app. A component can only discover other services. Let's say I have a app which is not providing any API, which is not having anywhere get mapping, post mapping. It is only using the data. It does not have to register itself, but it can discover other services in case if it does not want to register. If it does not want to register, in that case, there is no need. It can do the service discovery. The third is it can provide client side load balancing. What it can do? Client side load balancing. Consumer sent a query to Eureka server to Eureka server avail for enabling, or you can say for distributing the incoming request to parallel server. Means it will take the request and take them into the parallel server, right? Here components of Eureka. One is client and one is server. One is client who is using the data, who is using other services, who is server, who is providing the service. That's it. Who is providing the services. So that are the components of the Eureka. There is one particular component that is very awkward here, that is called heartbeat. Yes, here something calls heartbeat. What is heartbeat, by the way? 72 heartbeats per minute. That is heartbeat. Why your heart beats in general? Because Eureka servers heart beats for the same cause. Why heart beats? Sorry, for wife? To survive. I thought you are saying for wife. Sorry, my bad. To survive. From whom? Who is going to kill? Give the scientific answer. To pump blood. Yes. The main part of the heart is to pump the blood and filter this, because whatever you are eating will get digest, will spread in your entire body, which can make your blood impure also. So there are filters or valves, you can say, in your heart. They will at first filter out the blood and then pump it. Why to pump? Pump means flowing, throwing it at a very high speed so that it can reach your brain, it can reach to your toe also, like that. And whatever other things you are doing with heart are unnecessary, not required, because the main thing of main work of heart too is to filter the blood and pump it. Rest other are your illusion only. So on every pump, our heart beats, right? Whenever heart is pumping the blood, it beats. Now in 60 seconds, it beats around 72 times. Normal case. Think how fast it is pumping the blood. And that is a reason for your survival. Same thing we have here also. So we'll just discuss this topic, or else dinner will get over. How Eureka works. So it has 4 steps. Fourth one is optional. First three are mandatory. In the first step, there will be a startup. There will be a startup. Each service register themselves. Whenever server is starting, each service will register itself. Each service will register itself with Eureka server. Service registry means host name, port number, like this. Health check URL. Second is called heartbeat. Second is called heartbeat. And this is not a dummy concept. It is actually called heartbeat only. All the instances of the services will send heartbeat. Will send heartbeat. For an example, every 30 second. Every 30 second. Just to tell I am all right. Each service after every 30 second, it will send one signal to the registry, or you can say the Eureka server, that boss, I am fine. If it is having some problem, it will send a false value, means I am not fine, so that you can trigger out the things. Second is called heartbeat. Third is called look up. Third is called look up. What do you mean by look up? Look up means to find, or finding the things, you can say, taking care, you can say, look up. So here lookup means a service will send a query to other registered services, other service, registered services. That is called lookup here. The last, which is optional, that is client side load balancing. Now it will only be done when you have multiple data, multiple user at the same time. If you are working with 10 user, then what is the benefit of it? This is optional, right? This is optional. This is how your Eureka server works. Got it? And now tomorrow we will create a project using microservices. I will tell you how to register them into Eureka server, how to use the Eureka server, how the communication or the different apps will talk to each other, like that we will say. So that is how we are going to work here. Got it? So that was all the theory about, you can say, microservices and Netflix Eureka server. Tomorrow we will build project and we will see in real time how it works. Because whatever is looking so easy in words is quite difficult in implementation. Fine guys, we'll connect again tomorrow. Have a nice time everyone. Bye bye. Have your dinner on time.